rented housing.
Reminds me of Minecraft.
Yeah, like, not a water bomb, but they dropped the blue thing.
Hi, I'm Tim Somerville.
And I'm Michael Dempsey, and this is Off the Market with good old Team Somerville.
Okay, so we're into May.
We're into May.
Yes, soon enough, children will be done school. We'll get into the warmer weather. Water's starting to come down.
Yeah.
Docks very soon. Boating season will start. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a great time.
I mean, with the water being a little high, we weren't able to get the docks in this long weekend.
No?
But we'll keep trying.
We will.
Water's still a little high.
That's right. That's right. So what we should do is get right into it.
Yes.
And in regards to real estate, what I wanted to talk about today were foundations. Now, foundations are extremely important, as you know. It's an integral part of any home. So when we look at foundations, and actually when we show you homes, a lot of times we're doing that, especially this time of year, because in the wintertime, it's bloody impossible to see the whole exterior sometimes because of the snow or the weather and everything. So make sure if you're out showing homes or you're looking at homes that, again, either us or your realtor takes a moment, takes that first couple minutes, walk around the outside perimeter so that when you walk in, again, hey, guess what? You've already had a chance to even look on the outside to see if there are any telltale signs. The foundation may have some concerns. So let's start with types.
I was going to say, let's start with types.
Okay. So name a couple types of foundations.
Well, I'm going to go with the basic one, of course, is your poured cement.
Right, concrete. So you have your concrete foundation. Now, other than that, what's another one?
You've got you got concrete block.
Right. Now, with the concrete block, the hard part is that if it's above grade, Michael and I wouldn't have any concerns with the concrete block foundation. It's when it's below grade. And why is because the ground can actually put enough pressure on those concrete block foundations that all of a sudden the mortar could separate with time. And also, of course, they'll start to lean in. So a lot of times the pressure on a concrete block foundation that's below grade is something that could cause concerns down the road. In fact, we hardly recommend that if you have a concrete block foundation, that if it is below grade, to consider finishing your basement. Because again, everything is with time, and at some point, there is a good chance that that concrete block foundation could leak.
Absolutely.
Right?
Now we take it back a few more, let's say, decades.
Yes.
We start running into rock.
Right. Stone, rock. Yes, I know. And a lot of those, it was like the Rock of Gibraltar. They were like 6 feet, 8 feet wide. Like you've got 2x4 construction and you've got 8 feet of foundation. Right. So, and again, many of those are in the same condition as they were 100 years ago. So they definitely knew what they were doing most times on those stone and rock foundations. We've seen others as well. We've seen brick foundations, which again, above grade, not as concerning, below grade, yes. But I remember selling a home on the west side years ago. And it had, and I know you probably will not believe this, but it had a creosote railway tie foundation. So it had a wooden foundation made out of creosote railway ties. Now, the biggest concern we had wasn't the creosote railway ties, it was the creosote.
Yeah.
Because creosote, of course, is cancerous. So for us to get insurance on it, we had to get a paint, a stain that could go over the creosote so that it would hold in any of the, I guess, carcinogenic concerns that they would have.
Interesting.
Yeah, a wooden foundation.
I didn't even know that type of item existed.
Yeah, you did. Listen, we've seen those creosote railway ties used for many different things, retaining walls to this, to this, to this, and anyway, but when it's exposed or when it's contained into a basement, of course, any gases or anything that's released from that is going to be right within that area, almost like radon.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, right, which is another long discussion.
I wonder where do they get these ties? Like, are there derailed trains somewhere? I hate to say it, but...
So other than that, we also see many times where, of course, maybe some homes are on just sonotubes or even posts of some sort. And again, we want to make sure that, again, when we see that, not all banks are going to be comfortable with that, right? They want to see a full foundation. Showed a property the other day, 3 of the walls were all concrete. The other one, because it was on rock, it was just, again, the ends were concrete, but along, the rest of the house, no, it was wood. So you have to watch that if it doesn't have a proper foundation, your bank may or may not finance that. So something to keep in mind. And what needs foundation sometimes for financing? Are mini homes
Mini homes on their own land.
on their own land. So you have to remember that if a mini home doesn't have a foundation, okay, guess what? All of a sudden, the bank is calling it what's called a chattel loan or chattel mortgage. So the parameters of your mortgage change, how long you can finance it for, and many homes without the foundation that's not classified as a residential mortgage, financial institutions will not allow you to refinance those mini homes. So that could get really into a little bit of hot water for the vendor, because maybe 5 years in now they want to do the roof or do the siding or do the windows and maybe add it to the mortgage.
Yep, just pull a little equity out.
Yeah,
And
guess what? Can't do it. You can't do it. So something to keep in mind as well. Now, there's also the size. We walk in, right? We can see basements that are 4 or 5 feet. We see them, of course, our standard typical is 8 feet, right? We've seen, of course, some that have just a 4-foot frost wall with a slab. That way, again, any plumbing and so forth can be run. It allows so that there won't be any, of course, any structural concerns down the road. But of course, we walk into some, though. I've walked into some that are 13, 14 feet. Now, in today's prices for concrete, that would be crazy. But it's always nice when you get into a basement and you're like, wow.
Yeah, what's the plan? Underground parking?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And, it's true, right? So we have to sometimes look and say, okay, when we get into that, and a lot of the 4-foot ones are used for properties like a split entry. You'll have a 4-foot foundation and then what's called a knee wall. And the knee wall is so that, of course, you can put proper egress windows with the remaining 4 feet. Because if you have a 4-foot foundation and 4-foot wood, right, then all of a sudden you can put a beautiful size window. And many of those basements, they don't feel like basements.
No.
Right. So again, when you walk in now, most of those, again, when you get into the knee wall as well, I wouldn't say that we would see as many cracks, as many structural concerns, because again, I mean, when you're doing 8 feet and it's all below grade, there are many different concerns.
Yeah. A lot of parameters to take into effect.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this, I could probably bet my bottom dollar on this on a typical concrete foundation. Ready? Will you find a crack?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Don't ever think that a home will not have a concrete crack in the foundation. It's porous. It's just what's going to happen. And we've seen cracks that are big enough that you can almost put your hand through it and no issues on the other side. We also have seen cracks that are like hairline cracks, and guess what? So there's no rhyme or reason. It just depends on whether or not, again, that crack has penetrated from the outside to the inside. Now, here's the funny thing. The funny thing is if you have a small crack and you see it at the top of the foundation where the sill is, and say it's only 2 feet, deep, right?
Yeah.
Now, any repairs are done by what's called the linear foot. But what's unique is that if they come in and correct that crack, what do they have to do, Michael? Well, if it's 2 feet,
Well, they've got to go more.
they have to go all the way down to the bottom. Because if all they do is repair that 2 feet, chances are where they've repaired it, that is where it's going to start to crack again. So many times you could go into a home with an unfinished basement and see this big long crack with these plugs that have been put in and say, oh my goodness. Well, that crack may have only been six inches, could have been 3 feet. But when it was properly repaired, they had to go all the way down to inject it to ensure that there be no concerns. And some people believe that if that's done, guess what? It's actually probably stronger now than most parts of that foundation.
Absolutely.
It
It reminds me of my medical background. And even if you've taken basic first aid, like if you have a broken bone or whatnot, you splint the joint above and below.
Right.
Injury. So in this case, they need to do the whole.
Yeah, you had me worried.
No.
Okay, I broke my ankle. No, we had to break your shin as well and make your way up to the thigh. We're breaking it all.
Free healthcare.
Well, that's a little bit on foundations, but the biggest thing about foundations is the fact that yes, no home is solid enough unless it truly does have a good foundation. And although we're not structural engineers, we as realtors, we do our best to try to look for the telltale signs. And then, of course, we again can never give any guarantees. Nobody can when it comes to a foundation. But again, it's one of those things that preventive maintenance is very important. Make sure that you have proper eavesdropping. You don't want water coming in, towards the sides. So again, make sure that again, when you're looking at, your eavesdropping or of course your clearance of any water and so forth, that it's done well. Other than that,
Very, very well said. And I will bring up, you mentioned like as realtors, we know nothing's guaranteed. Well, it's the same as these companies that are fixing the crack for you. They will give you the guarantee and they'll say, if it didn't quite fix the problem, we will be back free of charge.
well,
We will fix it.
yes, but only certain ones.
Well, the ones, yeah, the ones that they've
Right.
worked.
Only certain ones will give specific warranties.
Yeah.
Right. And very good point, Del, because you have to watch who fixes it. Because in our area, I'm only aware of one that will provide a transferable warranty. So really,
Wisecracks?
the Wisecracks.
Yeah.
So Wisecracks actually, I know them quite well, and we've used them in the past. There are other companies. Many times the warranty may only be for a specific time or for the current owner. With Wisecracks, they have it that yes, if it changes ownership, there is a transfer fee, but they are willing to allow the warranty to be transferred to the new owner. So again, for the small transfer fee, I think it's about $100.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
And
it's
$100 is an easy price to pay.
Yeah.
Considering thousands of dollars
Oh, I
potential issues.
I agree. It's like Linus with his security blanket, just nice to have that security that, hey, we have that.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go for it.
Well, you brought up foundation, so I thought I would take it the next step.
Okay.
And discuss a little bit about 3D printed housing. Okay. Not a huge thing going on right now. There are a couple companies in Canada. There are some great places in the US, especially Texas, that have done a lot of communities. So what is 3D printed housing? A lot of people think it's Lego, you can bring in pieces and put it together. That does exist. That is a structural building. There's companies like that. Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of companies can build prefabs and things like that where they bring it in and they can do still stick construction, but a lot of it's put together. 3D printing is like a big old cement machine, if you will, right? That you type in all the parameters of the house, all that good stuff, and this machine goes around and it starts layering the structural shell of the house. Wow. And it's actually a little bit faster than your stick foundations. Okay. I don't want to miss any points here, so I'll just kind of go through the points. So there's a myth going around that you can spit out a structural sound 3D printed house for $10K, like the cement. No, that's
No way.
No, but it is 20 to 30% faster than stick build.
Okay, so you're going to save on that.
You're going to save on the labor. There won't be as much wasted materials. We all know it's like if you buy, molding and things like that.
I'll get it.
There's going to be waste. We always try to buy 10% more than we.
Yep, that's right.
That's kind of the rule of thumb. But an entry-level home, so 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single-level living, all that good stuff. Even when you add in your windows, your roof, all that good stuff in U.S. dollars, they can still get you a home for about $150,000.
Wow.
Now, of course, there's going to be lots of differences between stick.
So we had the conversion of that. What's that? 400,000 Canadian? Yeah, that's great.
Carry the one, yeah, close to that. But again, it comes down to the finish work and being able to have that structural outer shell faster. You're able to get the home completely faster, move on to the next project. So that's where the money savings really come into play as a contractor or as a business. So what are the superpowers of the 3D home? Well, one is durability.
Oh, yeah.
So if you and I go out and we're showing homes, and here's a 50-year-old stick construction, great shape. Like here's a 50-year-old cement outer shell. Which one do you think has been able to stand the test of time?
Even the R value, the R value, the insulation value, and everything else. So strength.
The article I printed out, they're all to the U.S. code. Okay. So they all match all the energy efficiency at the U.S. Put out. Again, I'd have to do a little bit more research to see how that configures with ours. Because every province, if you will, has
of course different building capacity.
Exactly. You also have design freedom. So when you look at some of the multi-million-dollar homes and things are a little bit more circular and there's all this craftsmanship that goes into it, that takes time, it takes elegance, not always an option for for some home builders. But this gives you an easy way to go around corners, and you can have, kind of your Fred Flintstone hut if you want.
Well, it reminds me of Minecraft.
Yeah,
Like, my goodness, these kids that have grown up with Minecraft and now all of a sudden they're told that they can do something like this.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So where are the gaps?
Okay.
Some of the gaps that come up is this is a newer technology.
True.
It's not on a mass scale. So when it comes to appraisals, it could be a little bit more difficult to really appraise because, like I said, you have a 5-year-old stick home or a 5-year-old cement home. Is there more value in the cement because it's going to last longer?
Yeah, I guess.
So because with any new technology, it's hard to kind of pinpoint.
Yeah.
It's like when COVID went rampant and our housing went through the roof and appraisers were like, I don't know. And they're pulling out there.
I
Hey,
get it.
we were all in it together trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
There are some printer bottleneck issues where, they only print about 6 to 7 hours a day. And that is to shut down for maintenance and things like that. It's like anything. You want to have a well-oiled machine.
That's right.
No clogs or anything like that. And then some issues are building codes. We mentioned that
Yes.
before. In different jurisdictions and things like that, they're still trying to figure out the building codes and things like that.
Okay.
So some talking points. How would you feel? Like, what are your thoughts on the potential loss of labor to our, men and women in the trades?
Well, I will say that again, in my experience, construction has never gone down. When we went through COVID, everything went up. Even the supplies, materials, everything went up. Now that some things have come back, not to the point pre-COVID, but still have come down a little bit, the cost of building did not go down now, which always leaves me with, okay, where's that money going? Right? So it may sound crazy, but just like many things, if you've hit that plateau in new construction, it would be nice if we hit that plateau because every year we see new construction going up and up and up. So it would be nice to be able to give an alternative option that may not be as expensive because, again, given this, I mean, yes, time is money.
Time is money.
Time is
And
money.
some, like I said, some do view it as labor displacement. I think of it as we need fewer hands on that one project, which allows that company to run multiple projects.
I agree. I agree.
So, there's no secret. We've had a housing crisis here for quite some time across the nation.
Yes.
This would be a faster way
I agree.
to, I'd say mass produce, but a faster way to produce homes quicker. And
Yes.
that would be my argument.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of
Like, yeah,
that's
it'd
all I
be great to have a,
3D.
be great to have a follow-up on that at some point,
Yeah.
and just to see if there's any more information. We always find that there's always something new that comes up. I mentioned ICF, integrated concrete forms. Well, of course, we were so used to the normal foundation that when we went to these Lego blocks, we were like, wait a moment. And so, there's always different changes. We look at between countertop or we look at types of roofing and it may sound crazy, but everything will have some change. This is unique. This to me could be a good change.
Yeah.
Just
And,
gives another option.
Yeah, if you're thinking about it or even just curious, there's a couple Canadian websites you can look up, or even in the US, they've broken it down to like cost per square foot of the home and things like that, which I know we mentioned already about, if we podcast, but companies that advertise by the square foot and they give you the general cost of, okay, this is what the electrical work would cost, the plumbing, all that good stuff. So they have a really nice little breakdown. And especially if you're handy, there might be some cost saving
Okay.
within that breakdown.
Good information. So we went from concrete to, of course, 3D homes, and so let's go off the market.
Yeah, let's go off the market. You want me to take it?
Yeah, you take over. Let's
Okay.
go for it.
Well, this is a bit of a touchy subject, so I'm going to get a little bit of our personal opinions in here.
A little.
A little bit. Nothing too crazy. We're just going to stick to the facts.
Okay.
So in BC, and I bring up BC because, well, let me just start over. New Brunswick and BC are two big powerhouses when it comes to the forestry industry.
I agree.
A lot of lumber, a lot of timber coming out of both provinces, and other provinces as well. But we are pretty big in that. So they had their earliest fire ban on record since they started keeping track of these things. So their first fire ban this year was May 7th. And what had happened was around May 4th, there was a fire that started about 5 kilometers. Well, this person that wrote the article, there's about a fire 5 kilometers from their home.
Okay.
And within minutes, the wildfire app was updated as out of control.
Wow.
So the firefighters are doing their thing. They're literally cutting a trail in to get to the fire so they can get machinery in there. The helicopters are doing their thing. They're trying to, what do they call it? Not a water bomb, but they drop the loot. They got it, so within 3 days, it had gotten under control, which was great. But once they had it under control, the provincial government stepped in and said, look, we need to have a campfire ban.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're probably very familiar with, last year here in New Brunswick, we had it in red period, like throughout most of the summer. I had a very dry summer.
What's her color now?
It's red. As of last night, it was red.
Wow.
So to think, here we are in May, and we are like, red is no burning whatsoever.
Wow.
I lost my train of thought there for a second. Yeah, no, all good. So we are already in early May, and we have fire bans. And like I said, last year we had a dry summer. We had a fire ban. I wanted to bring up the controversy that we had with Nova Scotia.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So if you didn't catch that story, they had a provincial, basically a lockdown saying, look, we need you to stay out of the woods. We have a serious issue. Was it Lower Sackville that was that? It was in that area.
Yes.
A couple homes were lost. A lot of people displaced. Red Cross stepping in, all that good stuff. They had a problem.
Yes.
And then they said, look, just stay out of the woods.
Yes.
And all it took was, this one person that's like, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the controversy. He purposely went into the woods.
Yeah.
He got a $25,000 fine. Now, later it was defined as, the government was not allowed to tell you to stay out of the woods.
Correct.
But I want to bring up lots of points here. If I just showed up on your front lawn, I put the lawn chair on, I start barbecuing, all that good stuff, you come out of your house, you're going to say, what are you doing? Get off my front lawn. Yeah. Well, Crown land doesn't belong to us.
No.
So if the Crown or the government is saying, listen, I would really appreciate it if you stayed off my front lawn.
That's right.
They can't force you. I think the $25,000 fine was a little excessive. Number.
But
go
it gets to the point where, again, it became media,
attention.
Right. Yeah. And that's what needs to be done. We need to make sure that, and people will not always agree with one thing or another, but one thing we should all agree is that, again, we have to make sure that people are safe.
Absolutely.
And so, again, just Michael and I both know that this year, everything is being pointed towards, and we're going to have another dry summer.
Very dry.
Enjoy the warm weather. Yes. Enjoy it for what it offers. But just be cognizant and aware of, the concerns that are out there.
If you're in a household, and I know my mother-in-law had an issue last year with a well pretty low.
Yes.
If you have a dry summer, that whole household is taking precautions.
Right.
They're turning the water on long enough to get the toothbrush wet. They're not running the water the whole time they're brushing into you. They're taking certain steps. I guess all I'm asking for is just try to take the necessary steps to try to keep the woods. It's not just about the woods.
No.
I mean, the billions of dollars that go into fighting fires is just
the safety of everybody.
And like you said, the safety. It takes nothing for the wind to just take it to a whole community and a whole community.
Well, a few years ago, there was the fire behind my house, and it was quite a few kilometers behind.
I remember that.
And if the wind had changed a specific way, there was a good chance we were losing our house.
Yeah.
So it does hit many people and many neighborhoods and many communities more than you probably expect. And the odd thing is that we've been told that it's not about smoking. It's not about lighting a match. It could be a pop can. Yeah. It could be the mulch that you have that's right beside your house, or the one that was East St. John a few years ago. They cleaned up the mulch and they put it in one of those compost bins right to the side of the garage, and it was so hot that it became combustible. The garage went up. The house, part of the house. So you have to be cognizant that it's more than just somebody going out there and having a smoke in the woods.
And I was thinking about this topic, and I was getting ready for work, and I noticed the sun coming in the window, hitting my wife's makeup mirror.
Oh,
near us. Yes. Shining a beam to the ceiling. And I reached over and I went, "Not today, Satan." I moved the mirror because, like you said, that's all it takes. It could be a candy wrapper that accidentally fell out. You mop it when you were hiking, and just that right refraction of light.
Yeah, I know. So great point. We will probably in other podcasts discuss where we are with that because again, as we go through this summer, I know that there will be many discussions about hopefully our hot days or our warm days and days on the water. But the one thing is just to get just be privileged to know that this really is a first world problem.
Yeah.
And it is a big first world problem. And that is that we feel that there's a level of entitlement. But really, again, I'll never forget growing up, there's something that said something about remember that the earth wasn't given to us. We've inherited for our children. So again, just we have to make sure that again, we are.
There's that old adage, leave things better than the way you found it.
Yeah,
or-
true,
Yeah.
true.
So we can't play in the woods.
Yeah.
What are some great activities? I know you had a topic. Scott.
Yeah. So with the idea of New Brunswick having so much to offer, and we're coming into that time, my wife and I, my daughter, we're heading off to Toronto here in a few weeks to
Go Jays.
yeah, go Jays, maybe see a Jay game.
Yeah,
That's right. But also go see a concert. But one thing I love live music. I will travel anywhere I possibly can. To see
He's the first one dancing.
Yes, here we go. First one singing too.
No drinking.
All right,
Loves to
there we
dance.
go. So what I thought was important to mention are some of the festivals, music festivals we have, because the one thing I will say is that compared to major cities, when you go to a concert and what you spend on parking and what you spend, of course, to get there and just the ticket itself is ridiculous. We are so blessed, so privileged to have some phenomenal music festivals. So I just want to mention a couple of them. I know we've gone to a couple of those.
Absolutely.
And some of them have local or national talent. And some of them are lucky enough that, hey, guess what? They actually get talent from, outside of Canada as well. And yes, we could go to Charlottetown and do their country festival. Yes, there are ones in Nova Scotia, Rock the Harbor, and a few others, which are great. But let's focus on New Brunswick. So we've been to the KV Music Fest. It's been running now for a few years. Every year there's some headliner that everybody has heard of. Colin James is there this year. The Trues are here this year. We've had Alan Doyle there. Again, we've had, some great local talent there. And one thing I will tell you about the KV Music Fest is it's a really nice layout. You don't feel like you're sandwiched in. You can go sit down. There's an area behind, when you first walk in, that's all set up. And then when you get down towards the music, because of the small incline towards or decline towards the stage, most people have the ability to have, a great visual of the bands, and it's phenomenal. So if you haven't been to the KV Music Fest, make sure you go.
Check it out.
Of course, here in St. John, uptown, we have the beautiful Area 506 and Boxcar. We've been fortunate to sponsor that on many occasions. The music that comes in there, the people that run that is top notch. Again, Canadian. Again, this year they're going to combine the country and the regular music. So it's going to be one festival. Instead of 2 weekends, it's going to be one. Now, the KV Music Fest, I should say, is in September, early September. The Area 506, that's in July to August. So it's the long weekend.
Yes.
So that may or may not run into some people's plans. But again, for the cost to go to that.
Yes.
And again, there is so much space to enjoy. You never feel like you're sandwiched in. And again, if so, you can just back up. The stage is fantastic. It's a great venue. Now, one of my favorites is in Fredericton, the Harvest Blues.
Yes.
The Harvest Blues always has a great lineup and has been running now for many, many years. And again, Melissa Etheridge has been there, one of my favorites. One of my favorite bands, and you saw the Revivalists, and so even this year they have some great musicians coming. Just mention a couple more. YQM is a bigger event in Moncton, but man, I mean, you've got Post Malone, Old Dominion, Eric Church this year. So again, big outdoor event, well worth, taking it in, especially again, where it's a 3-day event, I believe on that one.
Yeah.
Even if you can only do 1 day, you've got those options, right? So something to keep in mind. So I'm just going to mention a couple of the other ones. YQM, I should say, is late August.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Again, I'm Michael.
And I'm Tim, and this has been Off the Market with Team Somerville.